Please.
We also have an introduction. We have Yogesh Mishra, sir.
Good karma. So fairly complex topic. And I said, what would be a good karma? One good karma would be that probably we finish it off quickly. What goes in comes from. So we'll try to keep it short, and I'll be a strict timekeeper. But I would want everybody to talk. So quickly, let's look at quick things in terms of sustainable living. And so there are a few thoughts, and I want it to be as non-corporate as it can be. I would want you to share your experiences because post-lunch, and we are talking about how does good karma, and then we talked about chemical locha in the brain, etc. comes in. So we would want it to be interesting, and we would want to make sure that. So please, if you want to sleep, sleep with your eyes open, no snoring. Yeah, but we'll try to ensure that you don't go off to sleep. So people have talked about sustainable living. People have talked about, we looked at positive energy, well-being. What is well-being? So there's a technical definition in our assessments. We say well-being looks at three things: happiness, optimism, and self-esteem. So look at it and see how does it contribute. We want to look at positive outcomes. We want to look at good karma. So in terms of, since people are talking about chemicals, I said let's look at the 4 brain chemicals. How does this help in terms of dopamine, the reward chemical, oxytocin, love hormone, serotonin, mood stabilizer, and endorphin, the painkiller. Other thing that I wanted to look at was that all of us look at success. And there are some youngsters over here. And I've asked people, what do you think success means to you? So we are professors, and they typically look back and say, so I think I'll be successful when I have the 7, 6, 5, 4, 2 kind of thing. So I said, what does that mean? So they typically said that, sir, if I have a 7 income kind of a thing, I said, very nice. Then they said, sir, I have 5 days a week. A 4-wheeler, etc., everything. So typically the way it goes that I want to be a vice president at this age, I want to earn this much salary, I want to drive this kind of a luxury car by this age, etc. So I said that is growth, which typically looks at increasing your materialistic possessions. Then how do you look at what is then progress for you? When you look at growth plus ethics, and I said eventually, this is not me by the way, I said success is progress plus humanity plus morality. The other thing that I wanted to look at was that profit and greed. Where does greed start? When does greed take over profit? And the last thing that I wanted to leave for the things was that if you look at Diwali aane wali hai na, there are a couple of months, or when you see all these traditional businesses, what is profit in Hindi? Labh. So if a business was traditionally labh, do they write labh, or is there an adjective before labh? Shubh. So look at it, Shubh labh. Yeah. So with this, and the format is very simple. I think I have taken over my 300 seconds, 5 minutes. Is that for everybody, 1 minute on your initial thoughts about this topic. I'll repeat it later on. Then another 300 seconds about one example that is close to your heart. It can be from your life, or something that you have seen, and last would be one message. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 7 minutes, multiplied by 28, and if I feel I need to sum up, then another 1 minute, 2 minutes for me. Good, everybody's okay with this? Good. So what we'll do is, we'll start with Manjusha, since she is sitting right next to me, and we just met her. I was searching for her, I was like, who's that 4th panelist? So Manjusha ji, over to you.
So much for inviting me for the panel. Actually, it's a very interesting subject and very close to my heart, since I'm a wellness coach with Art of Living Foundation, and it's been 20 years I'm associated with them. So I teach yoga and meditation, which is close to my heart, and by profession I'm with not-for-profit sector as a partnership expert. So what does success mean to everybody is very different. Success is not just getting a materialistic thing. When we are walking on our both the feet, what does it mean? Let's say if we have a race today, and I have asked 2 people, like one to run on 1 feet and other to run on 2 feet. So who will win? 2 feet. So we have both the fields, one is materialistic, one is spiritual. If we walk on our both the fields, then only we can get happiness and success. So for success, it means that we are mentally, emotionally happy. At the same time, we have everything. Imagine we have everything in our life, but we don't have a happiness. Most of the time it happens. People who have everything, but they don't have happiness. But if you have happiness, then you need everything right on place. So always walk on both the fields. So that's what the success mean to me. When we are on, we have materialistic, we are at the same time contented. We are happy that ways. So that is the reason I think at the time of pandemic, I think everybody must have realized, right? So we are the product which have won the pandemic, right? So that's the reason we are here. I'm sure everybody has some or the other story with the pandemic, but now we are there. I think at the time of pandemic, people realized how the mind is powerful than the body. Earlier we used to think that only doing a physical workout is important, but then we realized that the mind is more powerful. And then, the body comes under the mind. It's not that under the body there's a small mind. Right? So that is the reason we say that mind is more powerful. That's the reason most diseases are psychosomatic. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so,
we'll
come back. The mic will come back again.
Yes.
So Professor Deepa,
thank you.
Very warm good afternoon to distinguished panelists, esteemed guests, and the advocates of sustainability. It's my proud privilege to be the part of this August panel, and the topic which we are going to discuss is very pertinent in today's scenario. I truly believe that the whole concept of sustainability or the success is not a trend, or it's not a simple concept. It's the art of living. It is the way of living our life, how we are living, and how we are leaving our footprints. There was a time when people used to say, you will become a doctor, you will be successful and you'll be happy, right? You'll become an engineer, you'll become an IAS officer, you'll qualify this examination, and you'll become successful and you'll reach to the pinnacle of happiness along the way. So when the people like you have reached to such pinnacles, you have reached to such levels, but still that happiness quotient, sometimes it is missing. In some of the cases, 80% cases, it is missing. Why? Because in the journey of that successful life, this corporate life, the whole journey left us without our passion, because we were not able to follow our passion. So being an educationist, because I am a management educationist, being in this profession for 24 years, I always emphasize on a fact and always guide my students, live your life, but follow your passion first. So if you follow your passion along with your professional life, you will become happy, you will feel contented, and which is the crux of life. I would also like to emphasize in today's topic, where we are talking about the India 2047. There is a dream of our Honorable Prime Minister to become the developed country by 2047, as well as the third economy in this world within few years, coming years. And this would be possible if each unit of our population, we are the country of more than 1.4 billion, and if each unit of the population will contribute, then no vision, no objective is impossible to achieve. I truly believe, and that is why, being an educational, I always give the awareness to my students. I always ask them to activate their activities and accelerate the activities and the events and give them maximum kind of exposure so that they can become the responsible citizen of our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Radhaji.
Thank you so much, Yogesh, and a very warm good afternoon to all of you. After hearing all of you, I think what comes to my mind is a simple quote which I read this morning. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. it's a deep quote, and actually when I started my own enterprise, when I became an entrepreneur about 13, 14 years ago, my passion, you're talking about passion, I was following my passion. And my passion lies in communication and design. When I set up my company, it's called Full Team, I thought, what can I do to make a difference? How can I give back to society? How can I follow the triple bottom line, make a difference to what everyone is talking about? Now it's four P's, but then it was a triple bottom line. People, profit and planet. How can you make a difference to that? And I had the good fortune to work with National Skill Development Corporation and helped the organization with their communication efforts. And you know that National Skill Development Corporation is in the area of skilling, upskilling, and taking advantage of the large demographic dividend which India has. So I had the opportunity to work with them to amplify their message. I also had the good opportunity to work with UN, GCNI, United Nations Global Compact Network of India. And they had just come out with the 17th Sustainable Development Goals. You may have heard of Mr. Kamal Singh, late Kamal Singh. He was the person who pioneered it in India and took it forward. And again, we had a good fortune to be working with him at that time. Do a lot of communication in this space. Also with FSSAI and also in the area of water conservation. So I developed with these people, and I was working with them, I developed seamless, scalable, simple solutions to carry the message right down to the grassroots levels by making children, by making street hawkers and their families ambassadors of this important message. So this is how I took my passion to the next level and used communication and branding to carry the message forward. However, you can live and let live. Again, something which I heard just last week, and I have to read it out to you. Upeksha, live and let live. You can leave things as they are. Maitri, Karuna, and Mudita. So if you live these four, if you don't live Upeksha, you don't live and let live, but you work to create that emotional connect, that is Maitri. You have compassion for those around you. And if you live Maitri and compassion, that is Karuna, you will get Mudita, which is joyfulness. I'd like to leave you with this thought, and then we'll come back as to how I decided to live this and make a difference and see what I do.
Wonderful, Sanchita.
Beautiful, Anuradha, and thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Thank you, DMA actually, for organizing this workshop, this event, which is very, very close to my heart. Now, coming back to this particular topic, is it like really special? It's actually very basic, and I'm really thankful that we've caught up with this particular topic where we are talking about sustainable living. What exactly is sustainable living? As Indians, I don't think so any of us is very new to this concept. Our forefathers, our grandparents, what we think today is, as a consultant, what I can say is sustainable living. When I talk to people, they think that this is very glamorous. This is not glamorous. Our forefathers were doing this. Circularity. These are the concepts that we would be talking about in this panel today, especially because I'm very, very passionate about these topics. Well, I am an entrepreneur, also a climate activist. So there are times when I just cross over the levels where I'm very pragmatic, and then there are levels when I am, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm talking about profit. What you said, profit, people, and planet. Why profit? We have to talk about people, planet, and profit at the same breath, because this is the backbone. This is the backbone of whatever we are doing. Sustainable living is minimizing your impacts, your carbon footprint on the environment, what we'll be leaving for the next generation. As I said, I'll be very pragmatic. I find a lot of young people here. Have you been to H&M or Zara? I'll give you a very, very practical example. How many of you have opted for conscious clothing? Right? I'm sure many of us.
I'm very conscious when I wear my suits.
Conscious. We go to brands like H&M. I talk about myself also. So
I love Zara.
when I went to H&M once and I saw this concept of conscious fashion, I was very glad. Let's see, there is this brand, and then there are brands like Zara, Forever, and I was always fashion conscious, fashion forward, and I was like, this is the brand that I look up to because I'm a climate activist and I need to know what exactly this is. I went back, I studied, and then I found out this may be right for the brand because they are doing something like recycling, probably taking back your old clothes, reusing it, repurposing it, making denims also. Denims are also conscious living. But are they not using water while preparing that, while creating that stuff? No. Then I again went back to my basics and I found out that our ancestors were doing what we think is glamorous today. Still in our households we have our tops, t-shirts, which we use till the time they are in sheds. We are using them as dusters. That's conscious living actually, not buying that stuff from H&M or Zara. The brands that, these foreign brands, if I may say, what they're doing right now, we are doing for ages. And that's what India is known for, the karma, the positive well-being, because circularity, the concept of well-being was deeply ingrained in us for a long, long time. 10 years back, a decade back, there were 20% of S&P companies that were reporting their sustainability initiatives. If I talk about today, there is a rise of 90% of the companies. That means we are investing more time, more energy, and that's such a beautiful thing. And this is going to come back to our future generations because we need to leave a better planet for them. And I think that we are just starting with this particular concept.
So what we'll do is, we have a session by Mayor and she flew in from there. So I think I should have been more strict, but after I stopped Manjusha and the way she looked at me, I did not have the heart to stop all of you, but this was unfair on Manjusha. My bad karma will come back and hit me. So what we'll do now is that, so I'll probably ask everybody to, probably just, this is a lot of good stuff as consultants, is everything, but something that you would want to leave, which is one anecdote, one piece, how you feel sustainability has touched lives of people, somebody's life that you know of, or the work that you have done, which has contributed to any of these 5 elements in terms of, what were the elements? It was a fairly big one. Positive energy, well-being, positive outcome, good karma. So I'll start with you, Manjusha, and I know that I personally benefited, and there was a time when a friend of mine made me go through that session. But if you want to share one good positive example, which is going to increase one of those 4 chemicals in the brain of people when they go think about some example.
I'm sure everybody will agree to the point that when you do something good for someone, it comes back to you. You teach to the child, it comes back to us, right? I think now when we talk about CSR or individual social responsibility, now people have started realizing you were already continuing it. You were anyways doing a good karma, right? So now it is coming as like what we used to call in our language, with our grandfathers and all. Now we are actually started doing it, forcefully or not forcefully. But yes, we are reaching out to a lot of people and helping them, volunteering them and doing it. I'm sure how many people are doing here some kind of a service to the society or think that we should do something? Yes, everybody does. Some or the other activity, be it helping your maidservant or, in the work when she's not well, you are giving some clothes. some or the other activity we are already doing it, right? In fact, same like with me also. Like I always, at the time of COVID, I used to like, when I should reach out to more and more people. Since I teach Art of Living Happiness program, I'm a faculty with Art of Living as a voluntary, you can say that.
You look very happy and contented. I was wondering. You look very happy and contented.
Thank you. So, like I used to take, online courses at the time of COVID, and many people were passing through that time. You know that the kind of a trauma people had, a lot of suicidal cases were happening. So I used to take online sessions at that time, and that really helped many people. I didn't realize, I was teaching online, and there were many people. And one of the guy came back to me, and after once the COVID was over, he reached out to me and said, ma'am, actually I just brought that day one of my friend who was, I didn't know that passing through that trauma, but somehow you saved his life. And one of my friend was not able to sleep for about, from last 1 month, he was not able to sleep. After the session, when he had the kind of a meditation, he could sleep very well. So you never know, what you are giving, to the community, and finally it comes back to you in the form of blessing. And blessing is the best thing which I think we can all get. It's a karma or well-being, whatever you can call it, So that's what it helped. And by passion also, I'm in a not-for-profit sector, and I'm a fundraising professional with, I work with all high-net, top-notch INGOs. So,
जहाँ से फंड नहीं आते होंगे, you might get stressed.
huh?
जहाँ से फंड नहीं आते होंगे, you might.
Like I don't get stressed out. I know that finally I'm reaching.
A bit of humor is important. I hope you are not mind.
Yeah. So like I enjoy that because for me it's a passion. I like talking to people, interacting with people. That's what something, and I'm doing something for the cause. So that's what, in fact, I like. And when I reach out to people, I know that, it's all how you sensitize people, and then you can help this community. So I would say everybody, I think, keep doing some good karma. Finally, it will come back to you. At the time of COVID, the kind of a good work everybody has done, made rotis for, I think every house has made those rotis, 100 rotis in every, communities, societies, people collected it and they started distributing to those people who are actually passing, those families were facing that. And there were many good work I think we should done. And I'm sure we should do something for our animals also, not only for the human, because animals are also on the road, always start feeding them. Right, and the birds also, that's a very good karma. You don't know, if we have, so many lives and, at times one, so it's a good karma that we are in the form of human body right now. So we can do everything, we can speak, we can express. So just keep helping and do some good karma, it will keep coming back to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Manjusha, for setting the tone. Well, we all know that we are in the era of Industry 5.0 and Industry 6.0 is about to come. When we are talking about Industry 6.0, it is all about circular economy, sustainability, well-being and good karmas. We are also discussing about human intelligence, artificial intelligence, but today's day is specifically dedicated to the sustainability intelligence. So as Yogesh ji asked me to give some examples, so I'll give you all the live today's example. Some of my students are sitting in this conference, that means we are creating the awareness. So there are some GLPR students who are participating, volunteering, such kind of intellectual forum, which is in itself is a kind of creating awareness. My 36 students today, because ladies and gentlemen, today is a World Car Free Day. So we have collaborated with Economic Times and they are running a campaign. That campaign is known as Planet Buddy. So these 36 students have become the Planet Buddy and they are working on Janpat and if I'm not wrong, Connaught Place. So they are in Connaught Place in Janpat and they are participating in such kind of campaign.
What day is it? Sorry, I didn't get it. What day is it?
They are volunteering with
What
them.
day is day today? You said
Today is the World Car Free Day.
What free?
Car free day.
Yeah.
Automobile, yeah, we all have come from the car.
So we should not come by car today? I'll go back by metro and direct my car.
So that means, sir, that awareness is very much required. We are talking about so many things.
Wow.
They are creating the awareness, they are participating in the activities with the Economic Times volunteers, and they are, creating, in this forum also people are not aware, today's feeding. So they are participating and they are creating an environment, a sustainable environment. Apart from that, I'm very glad to inform you all that, one of the group of my students, around 12 to 15 students are involved in a very different kind of, unique kind of campaign. What they do is, during the lunchtime, they go to the different gates of my institute, because we have multiple gates, and there are students who are eating their lunch. They go to, student to student, and they collect the leftover food, like, chapatis and the rice. They collect it in a bag, and they go back to the, roadside where, not many animals are there. They feed them. So they have now they have collaborated with one of the NGO where they have some kind of, kettles. So they are feeding them. This is the one example. Apart from this example, there are, number of experiences in my life. Like whenever, I collaborated and signed the MOU with some of the NGOs, and my students visited over there, they really felt that how blessed they are. They're blessed with so many things in life, and the kids over there, the adults over there, they are not that much of blessed. So they, started helping them. Some of, 4 of my students, there is an NGO which is for, adult people in Greater Noida named as Vishwas. So 4 of my students, they are giving the computer training to those participants, those members of that Vishwas NGO. There are some students, they have opened the NGO at their hometown. I mean, I'm so glad to inform that one of my students, Azam and the Shahid, they have opened the NGO at their hometown where they are imparting education to the student, the needful people over there. The workers, the kids of the workers, like ma'am was explaining about her. There was one ma'am who was giving the presentation, and she's helping the underprivileged community in the same way our students are doing. So ultimately, because I'm from the education field, as we all know that there are 3 pillars of sustainability: economy, ecology, and equity. The same way I believe for the developed nation there are 3 pillars, which is education, employability, and entrepreneurship. So in education, it is very important to teach teachers. Training of trainers is very much important. So if teachers are self-initiative, they are more conscious about the planet economy, then they would definitely convey this message to these students. And if we will give the value-based education, value-based learning to these students, the holistic education to these students, the good practices will prevail in the society. Thanks.
Very inspiring. Doing so much work in this.
That actually appeared like concluding remarks, but we still have 2 more speakers.
So I believe life throws up choices for you, and if you're lucky, you make the right choice. So a few years ago, I live in a condominium called Garden Estate in Gurgaon. It's very beautiful, it's very green. A few years ago, one of my friends asked me if I'd like to join the horticulture department. I didn't know anything about horticulture, gardening, which plant, which flower, which leaf. But he said, doesn't matter, just come, we'll enjoy, we'll have coffee together, and the 10 of us, you'll enjoy yourself. I said, okay, so I joined the horticulture department. I already told you, design is my passion. So I thought that the zone which I was given to look after, I thought I would beautify it and create floral installations and make it look pretty. I didn't know much about horticulture and gardening, as I said, so my friends on the committee who knew about it helped me to put it together, and slowly those areas which were very barren and which were not good looking started looking beautiful. When I was working on this, another friend of mine in the condominium, he's actually a game changer, his name is Keshav Jaini, very interested in recycling and reuse, recycling and regeneration. And he said, you're doing so much work in the space of design and communication, please help me to spread this awareness in the community. And I designed his posters and things with him, and then along with him we started educating the domestic staff, the guards and the gardeners and the people who used to collect the garbage. And we started educating the home owners and everyone there to start segregating their garbage. Slowly over time, this happened that we started creating our own compost within garden estate. And we stopped buying fertilizers and we started using homegrown compost. Not only did we use, and we now generate all our compost, we sell it at a very nominal cost to people within the condominium for their plants and for their gardens. And people from outside the condominium can also come and buy a whole sack of it for something like 10 rupees or something. When that happened, we also stopped buying any fertilizers and things like that from outside and started using the compost. All the waste from the garden we started to set up our own composting plant and we started generating this on a larger scale. It became such a big movement that people from other condominiums came to see how we were doing it, what we were doing, and they started replicating this in the other condominiums in Gurgaon and also Bangalore. And then Keshav was called to Hyderabad also to talk about it. He's doing a lot of work in this space. Then, a friend of mine grew vegetables. So, my initial interest was only flowers and making it look beautiful. But then this friend said, listen, I'm growing vegetables in my garden, why don't you use that big terrace which you have for gardens, for vegetables. So she gave me some lettuce plants and some salad leaves and things. I started growing them. And when we started talking about it and we started distributing more seedlings within the condominium, other people started setting up their own vegetable patches and salad leaves and other gardens in their balconies or their rooftops. And we also set up a herb garden in Garden Estate. And we started growing our own vegetables. During COVID, a lot of the vegetables came from our own gardens. Yeah. And then we started, measuring a step further. So we started looking at all the barren lands and we started converting them into green spaces. We started using native plants. So what happens with native plants is that you don't have to use much water. They come back season after season. Our expenditure on seedlings reduced. And we also started growing flowers which cross-pollinated. The garden started looking beautiful. Grandparents were coming there playing with their grandchildren. There were trees, everyone started doing yoga in the garden. We were talking about yoga. It reminded me how people started then, started doing it in the outdoors under the gardens and shading trees. And, this created a wonderful positive feeling in the condominium. We have our own fruit trees. Also, we have 25 different species of fruit trees. We grow more, and we have a lot of monkeys coming in also. That's the funny side of it, but yes. And, it's actually, there's a lot of wildlife right in the middle of Gurgaon, in this condo. A lot of good karma because of that. I believe that ancestors plant the trees, descendants enjoy the shade.
Beautiful story, beautiful. It's actually classic case study of cause and effect as to how your sustainable living impacted good karma. And actually, I'll tell you. So in the previous house that we were staying, we had a mango tree. And everybody would come and tell my father that, why don't you get all the mangoes plucked? Because what would happen is, like the way you have monkeys, you also have squirrels. They will come and they will eat the outer side and then you'll just have that half-eaten mango over there. But he'll say, no, this is for everybody. So again, it's a good way of giving back. So wonderful example. I think if that's how you look at circular economy, complete example. So, but now Sanchita, difficult task to follow. One example from your side.
It's a perfect ecosystem.
Yes.
Example that she gave. Well, I'll rather share a very personal story of mine. When we talk about sustainability, we talk about a very important element, which is people. Manjusha spoke about pandemic, and it brought we were fortunate enough not to lose anybody, because that's the most, the thing that you can't even think of in the dreams, losing people. But for me, confined, because I'm a very people-centric person, for me, confined to those walls for like 1.5 to 2 years was gruesome. I went through my own mental health issues. When we discuss about karma, positive well-being, sustainable living correlated to your physical or mental well-being, we also talk about mental well-being, and after pandemic, people have started talking more about it. And the reason I'm being very candid today is this period, which was very harsh on me, I took my own sweet time to come out of it myself, because in India, there's still not such buying for all this. People just consider, okay, this is depression, anxiety, probably some random issue. I took my own sweet time, I did my own research. And what I drove out of it is, it wasn't very, very easy on me. So my karma was what I wanted to give back to society. I had an NGO, it was just lying there, Bodhi Foundation. I didn't do much of an activity, as I told you. I was an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. It was all about profits. I revived that. And first thing I started doing was creating awareness amongst youth especially. Now, if you talk about mental well-being, there is this anxiety, panic attacks, where not everybody goes to go to the doctor. The only help that people want is those kind words of the empathy from your own people. And what Dr. Mishra, I realized is, 21, 22, 23, now we are in the middle of 2023. The best gift or good karma that I could figure out after this was during this Guru Purnima, I got a lot of messages from youngsters saying, thank you ma'am for being a mentor, for being a guide. And at that juncture I realized how much more important it is for parents, for the relatives, not to take them to the hospitals to the strings, but just to hold them up. Even with older people like us, we are not youngsters, we need that, in due course of time when you're going through those hardships in life. And that's how it goes. So this is just that humble story of mine that I wanted to share with you, that I dealt with this very important fundamental element of SDGs, just people. And that's how my NGO also got revived, but I'm getting a lot of good reviews about how this needs to be taken up, this mental health issue.
Thank you, Sanchita. That was, thank you for sharing your personal experience. That was very brave of you. I think it will also be of inspiration to a lot of us, because all of us have our own anxieties, etc. And not everybody is blessed to have people. So, one of the things that I always tell people is that if somebody wants to talk to you, talk to them. I think that's the best gift that you can give. And for others, I'll tell you, there are a lot of young students. There is a course by Professor Larry Santos on happiness. And it's at Yale University. It's also available free online if you don't want a certificate. And there are very interesting things that they have mentioned in it. And one of the things that they talk about is gratitude. What you mentioned in terms about the two legs, and you know I am about to sum up, is that, a lot of times when we look back and you will say that, oh, I'm so unfortunate. But then you need to just look around you, and then you realize, and then count your blessings. That's one. And the second thing which is over there in that particular course is about savoring. We are so used to running after things that we forget to savor or enjoy what we have. That's the other thing that is said. And and she actually spoke about a lot of paradox. So she was talking about students at Yale. So typically how they felt before joining Yale, how would they feel if they were at Yale? And then finally they compared with how they felt. And they realized that if they got into Yale, if they did not get into Yale, after 3 months there was not much of a difference. Once you get it, you tend to be wanting something else. The other thing that I looked at was in terms of the salary. So typically you ask, so people want to look at their success in terms of the amount of money that they make, and then they realized that was not true. In fact, she did another experiment, and where they said that, what would you like? So the first hypothesis was, if I were to give you $5 to spend on yourself, versus if I were to give you $50 to spend on, I think it was 50 or 10 something, to spend on somebody else, which one do you think is going to give you more happiness? You know, people instinctively felt to spending that $5 on myself. But then they said that they ran this experiment and people realized that when they gave the money to somebody who needed it, the feelings that they got of the happiness, the joy, the gratitude that they saw on the other people's face, they felt giving that $50 was far better, and they felt more grateful, more happy than if they had spent that $5 on themselves. So what I'm doing is, there will be a lot of things to take from this, but next 5 minutes, if anybody wants to ask questions, there have been people and they have been very kind, very open with their experiences. So if any of you, yeah, and you can tell who you are specifically asking the question.
Not necessarily, as a common answer, common question. Myself, Himanshu Saxena. I am a HR professional, author and positive psychology coach. अभी ये सभी लोगों ने कर्मा का काम बात की। अभी यहाँ पे सभी यूथ बैठे हैं। अब कर्मा का मतलब क्या होता है कि मैंने आज अच्छा काम किया, मेरे को आज ही मिल जाना चाहिए। तो I think Manjusa ma'am is respond in better manner.
So you are evaluating and saying whose karma is better? Okay.
I'm not saying.
Okay. So.
Because I'm also.
Trainer. Yeah, the process. So okay.
No, I'm also
Perfectly. You know, I'm just trying to lighten the things. A couple of things that I also want to tell youngsters is consultants need to have the last word, na? Especially when they're not being paid. Is number one, when people want to look at, so the cause and effect is not immediate. It may not always be there, but you need to give back to the ecosystem. Be grateful for the fact that there was somebody who helped you on the way. Now, nowadays people say that that's a very small thing to do. But look back and say that if that person had not helped you at that particular point in time, like the way Manjusha was mentioning, maybe that particular person, we don't know, God forbid, what that person would have done. So don't expect a cause and effect, and I can give you hundreds of stories about people and how that karma comes back. In fact, there was one of the persons I met today, and I got that message from this person, and this person was my mentor in my first Runback. And the gentleman's name is Alok Srivastava, and he just sent across a message to me. Because I said that, I saw his photograph and I said, and I had a lot of fond memories. I said that the amount of time that he gave me at that particular point in time as a rookie management trainee, nobody else would have given. And that's what I want to give back. So if somebody has done a good karma, one thing for you would be to go and give it back to others.
Dr. Saab, can you permit me a question?
Sir, आप तो perpetual हैं, हमेशा ही मना नहीं कर सकते.
I am delighted to be here amongst the young students, which is a learning session. Now, I do a lot of PSR, which is personal social responsibility. For the last 46 years, I have been in the self-help service of the spatially able, 14 years with the visually impaired, and 4 years with now LGBTQ category also. I have learned a lot of things from Anuradha ma'am and other professionals from DMA. Now, I want to encourage the students here to contribute as postulated by Professor Deepa Gupta. For these young students, young friends here, to contribute something of your time to develop the society around you. Thanks a lot. It's my personal request. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Verma ji.
Sir, I am Surinder Verma. I run non-government organization Citizen Awareness Group, जो 94 से काम कर रही है, and we are working basically on 3 projects: financial literacy, consumer advocacy और health education. तो मैं सर का बहुत बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि इन्होंने परमिशन दी है। 14 अक्टूबर को हम DMA के कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल में प्रोग्राम करवाएंगे, और उसके साथ जो है हम कॉलेज में, यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में भी प्रोग्राम करते हैं, और जो फंडिंग है वो सारी सेप्ट की होती है, इन्वेस्टर प्रोटेक्शन फंड जो होता है IEPF, इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन प्रोटेक्शन फंड, वहाँ से हमें फंडिंग मिलती है। दूसरा प्रोजेक्ट हमारा टेलीकॉम का है, ये जिसकी फंडिंग जो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टेलीकॉम से आती है, टेलीकॉम रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया से। ये दोनों प्रोग्राम हम करवाएंगे। फर्स्ट हमारा 14th को, जितने भी यहाँ पे डेलीगेट्स हैं उनको मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि 14 अक्टूबर को 11 बजे ये यहाँ DMA हॉल में आ जाएं और हमें उसमें हौसला दें और सपोर्ट करें। थैंक यू।
Thank you. Our office is Core 6, so Delhi Management Association is an institutional member here. We have an office allotted by the government. We also have a gazette notification in our name. So all of you are welcome to come and do programs at our office. Thank you very much, sir. What we'll do is we'll also ensure it gets sent to all the 20 to 100 members that we have. Don't worry, we'll make it a success. It's a noble cause. Thank you. So, with this, I'd like to thank all the panelists and thank you very much. And yes.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. So, you talk about the sustainability, you talk about the success. So, I just want to know how the sustainability help the business to achieve their goals and success. I just want to know it like a business perspective. Actually, I'm a management student. So, if it helps the business, definitely there will be challenges that the business face. So if you I just want to know what's the challenges that.
So couple of things. Go and read 2 papers. One paper. So both these papers are from professors from Delhi School of Economics. One is by Professor K.V. Bhanumurthy, and he's talked about the fact that there is a business of philosophy and there is philosophy of business. And then he says that the society, etc., and the business, they are increasingly becoming common. So that's number one. And second is you can also look at the impact of GreenX on stock exchange and performance. So when you look at it, nowadays everybody talks about shareholder wealth maximization.
Yes, sir.
Something happens and then you look at and say what happens to the stock prices? They tank. You look at what happened to Vedanta shares, and there's innumerable examples. So there is definitely a business case around that. And I spoke in the morning that I had done a thorough research of whether it makes sense to even invest in GreenX stocks, and it does. Yeah.
So I would also like to answer because he is a chap for management. So management students, we all know that G20 conference had happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. During the whole G20 conference, the main agenda, there were G5, which we discussed. These G5 were governance leadership, global entrepreneurship, green investments, good practices, as well as there was one more G, which stands for I think investment or something like. There were 5 G's for that. So there is one very important thing is global entrepreneurship. When there are problems related to the environment, climate, sustainability. So it is the utmost duty of the youth to realize the problems, take the decisions, come up with the starters, their entrepreneurship ideas, how they can remove such problems from the society. And I humbly urge all of us to contribute at least small but meaningful efforts in the direction of sustainability, in the direction of climate safety, security and scalability, so that we can change the future of our country with the help of positive well-being, positive outcomes and good karmas.
Thank you for such a wonderful session. It all comes down to 3 P's: people being humble, open and understanding, planet being aware and working towards a sustainable society, and profit, that is being successful. Without any further ado, I'd like to call Miss Meher Sidhwa ma'am to facilitate Deepa Gupta ma'am with the token of welcome.
Smart way of crashing the time because she has the next session. So we'll ensure that she's on the dais and then she speaks.
Meanwhile, I would like to congratulate DMA for a successful conference and especially to Yogesh ji and Deepak ji for all your efforts.
It is Deepak ji's, so it's perfectly, he was the one who initiated it.
You also and the whole team members.
Of appreciation.
हाँ जी
Diversity कर दी. Suddenly we see there is a different ratio. I happen to be the diversity. I am happy being on the sidelines. I'm happy being on the sidelines.
I'm a little bit confused.
Sir,
I think you are looking more dynamic.
Thank you. Diversity, confusion, I got confused.
Yes, please. Wait. Wait, sir. Okay.
Energy to biofuel. To enlighten us on carbon footprint, the targets and its challenges, we have Ms. Meher Sinha with us, Vice President, Air Carbon Exchange and founder of Environment. May I request Deepak sir to welcome ma'am with a token of appreciation.
Fairly philosophical, so I'm just going to switch tracks and move to carbon markets, which will be slightly technical. And if people are going to sleep, then sir, I would request you can crack a few jokes and wake them up. So I'm just going to give a brief overview on the carbon markets and how corporates can, utilize that to go net zero to achieve carbon neutrality. So, before we discuss about the markets, I just want to set some perspective. So the carbon markets had started back in 2005 when all the countries of the world had signed what was called the Kyoto Protocol. So that was signed in Japan and in the city of Kyoto, and that is where the compliance market had taken place. During that time, the world was divided into two parts. Basically, there were developing countries, which were somewhat like the poorer countries, and the developed countries, which were more like the rich countries. So the idea was, so the UN started this scheme where, which was called CDM, the Clean Development Mechanism, which was our compliance market. So all the developing countries had to generate carbon credits, whereas the developed countries had to buy the carbon credits, basically indirectly invest in the projects in a developing country. So a typical example would be people putting up a biomass plant in India, and somebody from Japan, they are generating the credits, and someone from Japan or from UK or Europe is buying those credits. So at that time, the compliance market functioned fairly well. The price of each carbon credit was at around 20 euros, and things were, it was really, carbon funding was actually helping people fund the gap. And this is during the early 2000s, like between 2000 and 2005 to 2012. That was a time when solar was a very expensive technology. Most of the projects started off with biomass power, then we went to wind, and then now solar has become something that is easily viable in the market. But back then people used to use carbon revenues. So then the markets crashed when we reached around 2012-13, and currently we are at a phase where there is no compliance market. The compliance market had ended around 2020. So currently we have what you must have heard on LinkedIn or somewhere or the other among people working in sustainability. What currently exists are the voluntary markets. There are voluntary mechanisms in the markets where a buyer would not buy because he has any compliance to meet, but because he voluntarily wants to buy. And naturally, because of that, because there is no enforcement, the price of the carbon credit today is at $2, which was earlier at 20 euros. So definitely enforcement is what is driving the market, and when you have something that's voluntary, it's fairly loose, and not everyone is genuinely interested to invest in this market. So at the moment we have certain mechanisms which is driving this as a voluntary market. The voluntary market doesn't have anything like a developed country or a developing country. Any country can generate, any country can buy, and that is where we are at right now. As we are progressing, we are moving towards COP28 right now. That is where the Paris Agreement is expected to come in play. So if that happens, again, we'll be having some kind of a compliance market that will come in the future. So once again, we'll have a compliance market, and we'll have something which is where a central body like the UN is regulating everything. Alongside, a lot of new developments have taken place. So right now we also hear that each country of the world is also starting their domestic market mechanism. So for example, India has currently come up with 2 schemes. One is called the CCTS and the other is called the Green Certificate Program. So CCTS is again a compliance scheme where Indian government is going to, the Ministry of Power is going to actually handle all of it with BEE, and they are going to ask people of certain sectors to take this compliance, where they'll be mandated to buy credits if they emit CO2 beyond a point. So each carbon credit, when we talk about 1 carbon credit, we are talking about 1 ton of CO2 which is emitted. So in the compliance market, in the CCTS or the carbon credit trading scheme, the government is going to create some kind of mandate where buyers will come in and buy, and this will is supposed to create some liquidity in the market within the country. So it is a domestic market. On the other hand, it has also released a draft which is a green certificate program that will be mainly for water credits or credits that come from forestry or agriculture. So you have a lot of highly sustainable sectors, but these are sectors that will be credits from these sectors will be bought in the voluntary market. So the Indian market is going to be slightly different, where compliance credits will be from the energy industries like renewable energy, and voluntary credits will be the highly sustainable credits that exist in the market. In the past, India has also had schemes like domestic REC, e-certs, which have not done as much as they should have. And that was again because there was no real, there was no compliance. There was a compliance, but there was no enforcement. So when people were not buying, there was no law that was forcing them to buy. So again, in the future, when we come up with a domestic scheme, we have to ensure that the government has some kind of mandate. Otherwise, it will again, it won't function the way it should. So meanwhile, the carbon market is going to be all about the international market, the Paris Agreement, which is going to come up in future, and domestically for India, it's going to be something where you have a compliance and another which is a voluntary trading scheme. I'm just trying to understand how many people here have some background on carbon markets or carbon credits, because I can feel that from some cases. Yeah, okay. So not many people have. So, I'm just trying to see if I can make this a little more interactive. So, do you want to just share what do you know about carbon markets right now and what has your experience been?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we are at a very early stage. Sorry. So we are at a very,
I can hear you.
So we are at a very early stage, and we have implemented some technology solutions, some IT solutions in a very large client, State Bank of India, and we are helping them cut down the energy cost and also cut down the GHG emissions. For the past 6 years we've been doing this, but now how to earn the carbon credits and then how to sell them and make money for the customer is what we have been talking to various consultants for the last 2 months. We have obtained some proposals also, and so we find that now we have more than 100 crore of carbon credits, and the monetary value is actually more than that. That much amount we should, depending on the trading the price, and they can be sold only outside India. They can't be, these currently are not.
Yeah, as of now, India is not a buyer. You can have some company that says that I will voluntarily buy, but when people are concerned about their profits and their margins, there won't be too many companies that will voluntarily want to commit anything.
But even if there's a buyer, that registry and that trading has to happen through UK only, right? Is that correct?
So in the carbon markets, there are certain mechanisms. So as of now, the voluntary mechanisms, like you will hear some jargon like there is a mechanism called VERA, there is a mechanism called gold standard, there are IREX. So each of these mechanisms have their own set of rules that a project has to be commissioned, after a certain date. So, I mean, in a nutshell, the idea is that all these carbon mechanisms, they want to ensure that you are doing this project only because of carbon revenue. It wouldn't have been viable without that. So, so that's why for a project like solar used to be a very credible carbon project earlier, because 1 unit of solar power used to be 20 rupees, then it came to 10 rupees, 8 rupees. But now 1 unit of solar power itself is at 3 to 4 rupees, 2 rupees sometimes in larger solar parks. So it's becoming viable on its own, and that's why they are not eligible under certain global mechanisms as a valid carbon credit project. But if you say, for example, look at any new technology projects like a research project like a green hydrogen or EV charging or a charging infrastructure, EV fleet, all these projects are now going to be the new projects that are coming up in the carbon mechanisms. Forestry is also one project which is very commonly done. Then you have microgrid projects. So you can do solar but like a microgrid, or a mini grid project, not like a commercial or a commercial estate project, not like a solar park which is larger.
So can I ask a few specific questions?
Sure.
So ma'am, for example, now this is a technology we have developed in India itself. It's a very innovative technology where on the IT systems we are able to throttle the CPUs and throttle the electronics. So basically in the runtime we are able to hibernate half the motherboard in a PC, to make it very simple.
It's more like energy efficiency.
Yeah, so otherwise if you are using only MS Word and PowerPoint and emails, then i5, which has got 4 cores, 4 CPUs, or i7 which has got 6 cores, it's a waste. It has got too much of CPU and too much of electronics consuming power continuously. I am only using MS Word or PowerPoint or emails. So if it is that whole electronics consuming power, using this technology, we are able to hibernate half the motherboard. So half the PC doesn't consume power. Now this is a very innovative technology. We have got 7 US patents and nobody in the world has developed this. All the others are either hibernating the screen or hibernating the hard disk when the user is not using it in an idle mode. This is when the user is using it. So we have few very good customers like State Bank of India which are using it. Now to get this, audit this technology, now there's a big question mark and it seems there's a big investment required. Our consultants tell us that first of all this technology, whether it be eligible or not, what the documents required.
The way it works is that there are a set of, so the UNFCCC is considered to be like the mother or the Bible of all the technical documents under any other mechanism that you go to. Even the Indian scheme that will come will use all the reference material from that UNFCCC website. So there were a set of methodologies for every technology. If your project can fit into one of those METs, then you can register it. That registration process has an audit which takes about 1 year to get registered, and then you monitor your actual data, and on that monitored data you can claim your credits. That will then be an annual affair where every year you are claiming credits on that monitored data. The primary point is that it should be eligible under an existing methodology, or you have to create one. Like you will have to show how before you were, say for example, generating 100 tons of CO2, and because of your technology I'm doing the same job and generating only 50 tons of CO2. So the extra 50 which I'm saving is the 50 carbon credits. So if that can be demonstrated, you can use a general energy efficiency methodology or create a new one and then register under that.
This whole process will take about 1 year.
Yeah, the process
and there is a big investment required. The consultant tell us that for 100 crores, about 25 crores investment is required to do this whole thing. Is that correct?
The investment is irrespective of the project. So every standard has a fixed registration fee of around $3,000 which people have to pay. So that's why what happens is that if somebody is having a rooftop solar project, it's not, it doesn't make sense for them to pay so much. What they can do is they bundle multiple small kilowatt size projects and make at least 5-10 megawatts. They turn it into a big bundle and then they register it, then it becomes a viable proposition for them. But otherwise it is for larger projects. So you have to, of course, you have to work your economics, your, you would obviously consider revenue from carbon credits based on the current rate because we don't know where the market may go a few years down the line. So considering that, if you feel that you're able to achieve anything, then you opt for it. And otherwise,
so if we think that we should earn 100 crore Indian rupees worth of carbon credit, then we have to invest 25 crores in this project, in this whole thing, the whole audit, certification, all of this.
so usually it is preferred to conduct this at the early stage of project because we want to ensure that you have considered carbon revenue when you decided to do the project. So the earlier the better. But so typically the process, as I told you, it takes 1 year just to register, which is a one-time activity, and then every year you will be. So, say for example, it's a solar power plant, then every year, based on what generation your project is, how many megawatt hours your project is generating, your carbon credit will be corresponding to that. So, if your plant underperforms, that is again not good for you because it will not generate that much credits. So, yeah. That is done. Apart from that, I'm just seeing if I should cover anything. So one of the things that I would like to just highlight is that because this is an ESG conference, a lot of companies, when they are actually looking at carbon credits, the way ESG managers or a chief sustainability officer in a company would look at it is that their company, say for example, they've done a GHG audit, and in the audit report, that company gets that okay, your company is generating 100 tons of CO2. Now their job is to see how they can reduce this 100 tons. So in order to do that, the priority of that company's sustainability head is to first implement some measures to reduce. Like you reduce your own emissions. Either you put up a solar power plant, so people are not expected to just go and buy 100 carbon credits and offset it. So the idea is, the priority is that you first go and implement measures. Maybe you do some energy efficiency of your HVAC, or you put up a solar.
This word of PowerPoint or emails. So if it is that whole electronics consuming power, using this technology, we are able to hibernate half the motherboard. So half the PC doesn't consume power. Now this is a very innovative technology. We have got 7 US patents, and nobody in the world has developed this. All the others are either hibernating the screen or hibernating the hard disk when the user is not using it in a idle mode. This is when the user is using it. So we have few very good customers like State Bank of India which are using it. Now to get this, audit this technology. Now there's a big question mark, and it seems there's a big investment required. Our consultants tell us that first of all, this technology, whether it be eligible or not, what the documents required.
The way it works is that there are a set of, so the UNFCCC is considered to be like the mother or the Bible of all the technical documents under any other mechanism that you go to. Even the Indian scheme that will come will use all the reference material from that UNFCCC website. So there were a set of methodologies for every technology. If your project can fit into one of those mets, then you can register it. That registration process has an audit which takes about 1 year to get registered, and then you monitor your actual data, and on that monitored data you can claim your credits. That will then be an annual affair where every year you are claiming credits on that monitored data. The primary point is that it should be eligible under an existing methodology, or you have to create one. Like you will have to show how
let's create one.
Before you were, say for example, generating 100 tons of CO2, and because of your technology, I'm doing the same job and generating only 50 tons of CO2. So
Exactly.
the extra 50 which I'm saving is the 50 carbon credits. So if that can be demonstrated, you can use a general energy efficiency methodology or create a new one and then register under that.
This whole process will take about 1 year.
Yeah. The process
And there's a big investment required. The consultant tells us that, for 100 crores, about 25 crores investment is required to do this whole thing. Is that correct?
The investment is irrespective of the project. So every standard has a fixed registration fee of around $3,000 which people have to pay. So that's why what happens is that if somebody is having a rooftop solar project, it's not, it doesn't make sense for them to pay so much. What they can do is they bundle multiple small kilowatt size projects and make at least 5-10 megawatts. They turn it into a big bundle and then they register it, then it becomes a viable proposition for them. But otherwise it is for larger projects. So you have to, of course, you have to work your economics, your, you would obviously consider revenue from carbon credits based on the current rate because we don't know where the market may go a few years down the line. So considering that, if you feel that you're able to achieve anything, then you opt for it, and otherwise.
So if we think that we should earn 100 crore Indian rupees worth of carbon credit, then we have to invest 20-25 crores in this project, in this whole thing, the whole audit, certification, all of this.
So usually it is preferred to conduct this at the early stage of project because you want to ensure that you have considered carbon revenue when you decided to do the project. So the earlier the better. But so typically the process, as I told you, it takes 1 year just to register, which is a one-time activity, and then every year you will be. So say for example it's a solar power plant, then every year based on what generation your project is, how many megawatt hours your project is generating, your carbon credit will be corresponding to that. So if your plant underperforms, that is again not good for you because it will not generate that much credits. So yeah, that is done. Apart from that, I'm just seeing if I should cover anything. So one of the things that I would like to just highlight is that because this is an ESG conference, a lot of companies, when they are actually looking at carbon credits, the way ESG managers or a chief sustainability officer in a company would look at it is that their company, say for example, they've done a GHG audit, and in the audit report, that company gets that okay, your company is generating 100 tons of CO2. Now their job is to see how they can reduce this 100 tons. So in order to do that, the priority of that company's sustainability head is to first implement some measures to reduce. Like you reduce your own emissions. Either you put up a solar power plant, so people are not expected to just go and buy 100 carbon credits and offset it. So the idea is, the priority is that you first go and implement measures. Maybe you do some energy efficiency of your HVAC, or you put up a solar emitting methane. Technically it is emitting methane. So when we are using that for composting, we are actually avoiding all the methane that was emitted in the atmosphere. So you have methane. We also had a lot of HFC projects earlier, but certain companies in India in the past have exploited that technology and claimed credits from HFC, so that's why those are right now restricted. But you do have methane, you have sulfur dioxide, so you have all of these, nitrogen from agriculture. Like if there are any agricultural exports over here, then N2O emissions are also reduced by certain changes in farming practices. So a lot of these projects can be done when a methane, say for example, you have a methane project, because it's 21 times CO2, you will always see a slightly higher volume of credits that you get from that project. But yeah, typically you can address all of these greenhouse gases under carbon mechanism. We just break it down to CO2.
So we are getting a lot more than hydrogen use in future. What does it change?
people right now are, green hydrogen is what will be the green part of hydrogen. Like there is grey hydrogen, blue hydrogen. So the technology is still at not, I wouldn't say it's at research stage. Like people have, IOCL is there, Tata is there, Reliance, they've all come up with the technology and it's working fine, but it's not yet commercially viable. So in order for that to happen, it will be a very highly eligible carbon credit project because they will require extra revenue from somewhere. But those are projects which are, so green hydrogen is being explored in, of course, in industries, in heavy industries like cement. It is also being explored in vehicles like high charging vehicles like trucks. Instead of EVs, to charge a truck, you may want to look at green hydrogen. So actually the government of India, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, they all are working with some people from Norway and Japan right now, and they are trying to bring green hydrogen in transportation. But there have been people from Toyota Japan who have said, who are concerned on the safety aspect of using green hydrogen in vehicles, because apparently there are chances of a blast because it's explosive. So that's why they are trying to see how they can address those things and then bring it out in the market. The technology is available, it has been proven.
So once you extract the green hydrogen, so there is a grey hydrogen as you're saying. So what happens to the grey hydrogen? Does it create CO2?
Yeah, because it requires some kind of power source. The grey hydrogen is basically utilizing your grid power, and green hydrogen is using your renewable energy power. That's the difference. So that makes the difference in the color. But these are again, so there is also EVs are also in the market, but a lot of people feel that EVs currently are the most viable propositions for 2 and 3 wheelers. You see a lot of 2-wheelers already adopting it, like Amazon, Flipkart, when they are delivering their parcels, or you see Domino's has started using those EVs 2-wheelers. So it has become useful over there, but when you have trucks or buses, then you need certain high charging, like DC chargers on the highways. That is where hydrogen is being explored. So a lot of things are happening, as someone was mentioning that while we are talking, there is already something changing in technology, and we have to again upgrade ourselves. So it is actually changing at that pace, because we were still at the point where EV is being promoted, but green hydrogen has already started coming in. So it will be a mix of both.
It is a community of people who are non-vegetarians, and they convert to vegetarian. So they are reducing carbon emission. So can that also be claimed? Yes, why this?
How will we monitor them?
No, let's say a small town or village, it becomes completely vegetarian. Let's say hypothetically.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining. So could that also qualify for carbon emission reduction?
The problem is how do we know what chuk ke nahi kha rahe? It's just that is something we don't know how to monitor. They are humans, but there is actually a method now.
It's a good thought actually to be common to the government and that,
But okay, chuk ke nahi kha rahe, how will you monitor?
Yeah. How will you monitor this? This is a very human project. So how to monitor whether people are really following it or just claiming credits? But there is, with so much of with all those chips and all which get implanted in people's brains, I don't support that idea, but that may be one way. So it could be not on the people, but on how much is being consumed. Sorry? Yeah. So that's a similar thing is also happening for waste management. So when you're doing a waste management project, it is being monitored at a municipality or at a group level, rather than seeing what each person is dumping and utilizing. So definitely, it's a collected effort.
Really informative and must acknowledge. Let me quickly invite Sameer Gambhir sir to kindly acknowledge ma'am with a token of our gratitude.